So today I will be going over our Painsmith heroic kill. I think this is like the first really challenging boss in heroic. So I'm not really going to be explaining the particular mechanics of the fight, but more of like how we chose to deal with them. So the first thing is our raid comp. I think this fight becomes significantly easier the more healers that you have. So we have a group of 23 players, and we chose to use 6 healers for the fight. So P1 is definitely the easiest portion of the fight. And the first thing we kind of struggled with is where do the tanks take the debuff? And we basically just made the rule of thumb that wherever the tanks are facing or wherever the wave of spikes are coming from, the tanks are always going to go left. So here you can see that I'm going left and drop it off. It's pretty inconsequential in P1 what corner you go to, but it becomes a bigger deal later on in the fight. So the raid already knows that after making it through the spiked ball, the tank debuffs are going to be going left. So we go into purple. And the next kind of thing on a tanking front is that you can see on my weak warrior here, it shows I still have the dot on me. If you taunt the boss too early as he's doing the throw weapon, he will melee you. And it happened to me once, it happened to the other tank once, where if you have this debuff, he will hit you for like 90+% of your HP. So be really careful with your taunts. So these first set of traps doesn't really matter where you go. Just don't place them like on the edge of the room or in a corner. And just slowly break them. Great, left for skull. And for the wave of spikes, we just manually marked the one kind of in the middle. It wasn't my job, but it was the other tank's job. So the tank's gonna be going to blue. Just always going left. Good, square release. So intermission's pretty easy in my opinion. The other thing I kind of see other groups or something that we kind of got baited into doing at the start is yeah, I was just mechanic there. You really just don't want to use healing CDs in this phase because you're going to need them for blowing up traps. It'll feel a little bit scary, but realistically, yeah, there is a ticking debuff on the players, but no one should die as long as they don't get hit. And we generally save like our roars if we do like a big movement or something in this phase. I've seen other groups like choose a marker to stand on. Everyone just kind of follows that person, but we just kind of yellowed it. The other part is that we didn't pot on pull, so we kind of spaced out our CDs a bit. So, from 100 to 70, you just use your player abilities, and then 70 to 40, we use pot, and then 40 to kill, we use last. And this is where it starts becoming really important. That the tanks always go left to drop off. Dodge, which you'll see on the next set. Okay, Nith will be going to X. Traps are going to purple. Look for skull. So what I would always do is I would call out where the tank is going and then where the traps are going. So here, the tank is going to star, which means that the traps are going to be going to like the complete opposite corner. It creates the most time for you to break traps before you blow up 2 at once. So here, skull's a little bit off to the side. That's totally fine. Go through. We also made it a rule of thumb that if you had the circle around you, you were the last one to go through the mechanic, and that means the balls. That means the wave of spikes. Whatever it is, you're last, unless you can like blink past it or something of that nature. So by placing the traps over here, it gives us the most time to deal with them before it gets hit by the spikes. And we sent a BM Hunter to be the one that goes to explode them. And what I told him is don't give a fuck about raid health, right? Because that's not the timer that you're up against. The timer that you're up against is not blowing up within 2 seconds of each other. which that timer is set by the spikes coming at you. So he is on his own timer, and then we planned our healing CDs around how to live like that pace, which I think is where 6 healers really came into play. So ready to dodge. Good. I will be going to X. So I call it where I'm going. But it's every other set where it overlaps with traps. Get ready to dodge. It will be going to X. Traps are going to purple. Look for skull. And make it through. And as you can see, you don't have to go all the way into the corner with the traps. Because where it is cut off is by the balls, but just try as much as you can to get into this corner with the traps. Because it gets pretty close. And you could usually let the last set just be hit by spikes. We're going to X. In this intermission, you're going to have 2 things to dodge. Focus. Yeah, so the way that it overlapped for us was we push, but there's already a set of spikes going out. So you kind of had to focus on dodging 2 sets of spikes for this first set of intermission. If we wanted to, we could like wait on pushing the boss to not get this overlap, but we just kind of decided to say focus. So we use our roars. As you can see, it's just kind of a free-for-all for making it through the maze. Watch Leap. It's far right. And Heroic, you can get hit and not die by the spikes, but if you get hit by the swirl, then you're just dead. Middle. Watch that healer. Pot. Lust. Let's go. So in this phase, I called Lust. I called Pot. You know, we were supposed to pot in 70 to 40, but sometimes players forget. And this is where the strategy of always going to the opposite corner really comes into play, because in this phase, you get 2 sets of the spikes at the same time. And if you're in the opposite corner, the way the tank pattern works is that, you know, it'll send out the continual wave, and it sends out the predetermined pattern. The predetermined pattern will never ever hit the opposite corner. So I highly advise doing that. I'll be going to blue on the first one. So calling out where I go.
On the first set of chains that we need, or traps, I'll need your guardian. I'll call it.
So that's the hunter saying, you know, I'm blowing at these traps. I'm gonna need an external. Get ready to dodge. And look for skull. And it's going to purple. Traps are going to X. So call it where the traps are going. Call it where the tank is going. Look for skull. As a tank, it gets pretty scary when you're dropping off.
Go for.
I don't have guardian.
Aubrey, do you have guardian?
Who's talking?
I'm gonna heal you.
Draven.
Okay, I'll turn.
Sorry, Draven.
Focus on dodging here. So in this phase, you know, the pressures are kind of starting to get applied. The rate's gonna be low, and if you get hit, you are probably gonna die. Res Rocco, I'm going to purple.
Last trap's going
I'm
on.
going to purple. Yep, so I'm going to purple. And the explosion hurts pretty bad. As you can see, it takes about like half the rate's health. Watch my health here. I call out because I'm out of everything. Okay. Nith is going to blue. Traps are going to star. Look for skull. And I think this is the last set of spikes that we actually, or last set of traps that we have to do. You can go through. Good. You just use everything to look these guys. Everything. Yep, so I call to use everything. Be in the link in darkness to take the dodge. This next tank explosion is going to blue. So here, as you can see, I think what happens is that the other tank, he still has a little bit left on his debuff, and he taunts, and he just gets destroyed here. So I think he taunted a little bit too early, or didn't pop the right defensive, because like I said earlier in the video, if you have this dot on you and the boss melees you, you're probably gonna die. Chungus personally, yeah, so he just dies. So as a raid leader, I make really bad calls here. I kind of panic because I know I'm about to die. I should have called for Double Shine's Guardian, but in my mind, I was trying to look for the balls to mark Chungus' skull. So I should have called for Guardian, and then I should have made the call to ignore these balls. But I say, you know, I die, I mark Chungus' skull, and I say focus it. But realistically, we should have just burnt boss, which is end up what most people did anyway. So it kind of worked out. Yeah, look for
for skull. That's
Yeah, so I say look for skull,
skull.
but boss at
you have
1%.
to break this ball.
We don't have to break the ball, just burn.
You have to burn now. Burn. Immunities.
Do it, fuck!
Yeah.
No, so that's the fight. I think the big piece of advice I would give people is to overheal the fight. It'll save you a lot of progression time, and we make a Google sheet for the tier, which I will have in the description, where it'll say all of our timings, like any weak auras, things like that for the bosses that we do. All right, thank you for watching.